Hey there, it's Mart with Max Q and another J-3 Cub restoration update. As you can tell, I don't sound quite right. In the last video, I mentioned I was feeling like I was getting sick, and here it is. It's a week and a couple days later because I didn't even get the video out on Monday of this week. I didn't feel the worst, but my voice was way worse than this, and I thought there's no way it's really going to work. So anyway, we're running behind. So this is the date. It's not traditionally sequential because it's Wednesday, but hey, whatever. So I didn't get as much done because of being sick. I had chest congestion and head congestion and achy and tired and just anything and everything, except I never had an upset stomach, never puked or anything like that. So it could have been a lot worse. But my wife has had it. She's almost done. She's had it for at least 3 weeks. So I've probably still got a little ways to go, but I'm at least feeling pretty decent. And I did get some work done, even though I didn't get as much done. So the top of this wing is fully covered, glued on, and ready to shrink. So in fact, here in a few minutes, we're going to do the 250-degree initial shrink on this top surface and see what happens. It should work out just great. But I thought I'd go over a couple of things about how I decided where the laps, the joints and such would be on that fabric for the wings. So I had mentioned in a past video when I did the Super Cub, I was able to overlap the leading edge fabric, which one layer was actually the Seconite 101, which is the heavyweight, and then the rest of it was 102 like this, which is technically the midweight fabric. The normal, this midweight or 102 is pretty much the normal for any small airplane. But if you want super durable fabric, you can put the 101 on there, and it's really not that much heavier. It does make the weave more noticeable. It's a little more coarse. Sorry, got something here. But it is significantly more durable, and I actually don't think the heavier weave looks bad. But anyway, this whole airplane, this whole Cub is going to be 102, which is the midweight, and it's about 72 inches wide on the roll. So as I was trying to figure out, well, going back to the Super Cub, so I had one layer that was the midweight and one layer that was the heavyweight, and because a Super Cub has the aileron cut out like this, but it also has the flap cut out, the distance actually here out at the tip to the leading edge is the longest distance, whereas on the Cub wing, it's down at the root, it's a little bit longer yet. So I couldn't get the fabric to overlap as far. So on the Super Cub, I could literally go from the spar. I had double layer of fabric basically from the spar to the spar, the whole leading edge. And the extra layer of fabric just helps to hide the screws a little bit better. It helps to just give, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but it seems to give it a little more appearance. Now, like on the old Stewart's videos, they used to do a lot of that felt underneath the fabric. And, you know, that probably really does a great job of smoothing out the leading edge, but it doesn't seem like that's as popular as it once was. I think there can be some challenges with it. But the idea of having a double layer of fabric on the leading edge, I don't think there's any downside to that if you can pull it off. So, but the problem then was I could see that I wasn't going to be able to go from spar to spar with the overlap of the two layers of the top and the bottom. So, what I did was I cut a 3-inch wide piece of the fabric. So this is off the edge of the roll, and so it's 72 inches basically from end to end. And I got some tape on it. So I did some testing with taping it up on the wing, having the amount of overlap I need at the trailing edge, and then seeing how far up the fabric would go. And in that process, in fact, I think what I'll do is I'll just take the camera over there and we'll take a look at that. So what I was able to do was I figured out that I could come this far up on the, okay, sorry. I'm going to tell you that I also, on this one, am covering the top surface first, because when I do the overlap, which is going to take place on the top side and I put the 4-inch wide tape over the joint, it won't really be seen as you walk up to the airplane. For some reason on the Super Cub, when I did it, I put the overlap on the 4-inch wide tape covering the joint was on the bottom side. And you could see it. And it's really hard with a 4-inch tape, especially when you work by yourself, to get a tape on absolutely perfect. And most people don't even care, of course. I'm a freak. I look at those kinds of things. And so, I mean, it turned out really nice, but there were some tiny little imperfections. So if it had been where you couldn't see it, hey, that would have been even better. So I figured out that on this one, what I do is I do the top surface first. And then because I wanted as much overlap as possible on the leading edge area for it to look and be as durable as possible, I wanted to get as far as I could. So I'm putting a glue joint there where the fabric is glued to the leading edge, but then there's a secondary glue joint down here where the bottom fabric, when it comes around here, it's going to go to this point here, and so I have glue already on the leading edge, and I'm going to glue this first layer, the top layer of fabric, to that glue, but after I shrink it, so all the wrinkles are out and such. So then this will be glued here and then to the bottom surface as it wraps around and comes to this point, and then the 4-inch tape will cover that joint, and it will also catch the tapes that I have on the nose ribs and on the ribs. It will cover up those. So it's kind of I think a real clean look, real functional. The problem is it's been a challenge because I'm using literally every inch of this fabric to get as far as I can go. And so on that 72 inches, basically I cut off the manufacturing edge right up here, just as little of it as off as possible, so there wouldn't be that little bit of a lip that sometimes occurs where the fabric when it's woven. And then the same thing down here, that's essentially the full 72 inches just with that tiny little bit of the edge cut off. So anyway, I put way too much thought into this, but I think it will pay off in the long run because I won't have any seam tape showing on the bottom side, and we'll have a double layer, and I don't know, I just think it's going to look fine. So the other thing I am thinking about doing is where this is glued on the bottom side, I tried to get that really spot on perfect because there'll only be one more layer of fabric over it, and you may see that pinked edge a little bit through there, and it isn't absolutely perfect. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a straight edge and the hot knife and cut the pinks off, get it to a perfectly straight line, and then iron over that really, really well so it's as flat as it possibly can be, so that when the bottom surface comes up and around, you literally won't see any telltale signs that there's a layer of fabric underneath. That's kind of the thought. We'll see how it goes. Again, I think too much on this stuff, but to me, that's part of the fun. I really enjoy all of that. And I know for most people, that's probably not the way they think of it. So, but anyway, so this whole top surface is completely glued on, and it's fairly snug. I thought maybe you can kind of see, like obviously it's very loose, but if you use an envelope that's sewn and has the seams that run the directions of the ribs in like 3 places or so, those tend to be really floppy when you first put them on. But with this blanket method, which is pretty much the standard anymore, although there are some people still using envelopes, but you can get the fabric pretty tight, so it's not going to take a whole lot of shrinking to take the wrinkles out of that. And so let's go ahead and see what we can do here with the old iron. Showing fluctuating there, 248, 250. So the way I'm going to do it here is we're going to go over the ribs, and the aluminum rib will suck quite a bit of heat out of the iron, so you can go pretty slow when you're doing right over the rib like that. In the bays in between, you don't have to go that slow to get a good response from the fabric. So this isn't terribly exciting. It'll be pretty exciting when I get to the areas in between the bays, because then you're really starting to see snugness and the wrinkles going away, and it's looking like a wing at that point. But and I'm skipping ribs here initially to just do some general take-up of the fabric. I'll also have to work quite a bit on the leading edge to shrink the fabric and take the wrinkles out where it overlaps the leading edge. And of course that is a little more difficult because there's so much surface area of the aluminum there to suck the heat out, and so you definitely have to go slower and really pay attention. It's not that hard to wind up not getting all the wrinkles out on the leading edge, because you think you got them, but you haven't quite, and so you have to be patient, and there's just a lot of back and forth. So anyway, I may, for the rest of this, until I get to the point of the area in between the ribs, I may just speed this up so you don't have to watch and listen to me rap on with my voice that isn't quite right. So I'll check back in here in a minute, but we'll speed this up for right now. Okay, I'll talk some more now. So there we go, kind of gone over the ribs a couple times. So let's take up some slack here in the bays. It's kind of hard to do a good job of shrinking the fabric and running the camera, so sorry. I'm skipping every other bay for right now. I'm not sure if it really matters. You can get all kinds of opinions on this stuff, but I think they are just opinions. It's a pretty good wrinkle right there on the trailing edge, which you can see just with a little bit of heat can make it go away. You gotta watch that stuff, partly because like on the wings or the fuselage, there's so much area that you're covering that it's real easy to kind of get numb to the details. But you gotta look for those details, because sometimes a wrinkle that doesn't get removed, which can be easily removed with the iron, but if you don't get it removed, then it may show through in the final product. However, surprisingly, you can also go back over spots. Like I use parchment paper a lot to protect either the glued areas, if I need to put some heat on things, or the painted areas. You put some parchment paper on there and it will keep it from softening the paint to the point that it becomes a problem, but you get the heat down into the fabric and you can get some fixing action there. So anyway, so I've got a little spot here in this corner that I may have to deal with once I get to full shrink. I'm not sure if it's gonna all come out quite like it should. Actually, it's beginning to look more and more like it will though. So I wasn't too stressed about it, but because again, this is just 250 degrees because we're just taking up the big slack, and that's all we're gonna do till I get the bottom side glued and shrunk to this same level. And then you go back and start doing the super shrinking where you're trying to get things really, really tight, and you can then deal with any particular issues that might be a tiny bit soft, because you can certainly have those, you know, in the initial process of the gluing on, where you've got some things that need a little bit of special attention to get the slack out. But it's amazing how much of the slack can be removed. Like, I've always heard that the Dacron shrinks about 10%, and I guess that's a little hard to specifically visualize as it relates to the wing. I'm gonna switch hands with the camera here. But anyway, it's pretty significant, the amount of shrink that you can put on things. And so you can solve quite a few issues just with heat. However, there's certainly a limit, and so if you're better off always trying to minimize having any kind of excessive slack areas, and then not having to worry about shrink being able to make them go away, than you are to just carelessly put things on and not worry about it, and then find out that you don't have as much shrinking power as you need. So got some wrinkles up there, but again, even at the 250 degree, the low heat level, you can make those wrinkles go away. And those are creases really in the Dacron, because if you wad this stuff up, it'll crease really, really badly. But I'm pretty sure even in that condition, you can still take all those wrinkles out. But it's a lot more work, so obviously you don't want to put those creases in the fabric if you can avoid it. Wings moving around on my mounts up there a little bit, sliding away from me. I think what I'll do is I'll put the camera down here for a minute. I'll finish this up, and then we'll go back over it real quick and talk about the details. Okay, I'm back, and I've put the iron down. She's unplugged. So there's a full 250 degrees on the whole top surface, taking up all the wrinkles. It's kind of funny the way it looks, because with only the top surface on, and with it hanging vertically like this and the lights on the backside, you're seeing shadows of the ribs, the Dragon anti-drag wires, the inner rib lacing, and so it's creating this incredible look of, it sort of looks like it's wrinkled, but it's absolutely not. But you know, most people would be doing that with the wings flat, or in a rotisserie probably, where they'd have it more flat. So this is completely vertical, and of course, let's go look at the other side, but the back side's completely open still. So you can see all the things that are creating shadows, and but it is looking really nice. And I did get, I got this wrinkle out even at 250, so that's good. And I try in the corners to, you know, make things look good and not have excessive fabric. And you can doctor that stuff up as you go, but right from the get-go, if you can keep it from accumulating to begin with, makes the job that much easier. So oh, and then also there's this pulley bracket. I've shrunk right around it. I'll be cutting that open here soon, before we get to the higher temperature shrinks. And but the next step will be to go ahead and start working on doing the other side. Underneath the blankets there, or the sheets on the table, I have the fabric for the wings already cut to length. But I still do need to cut that woven edge off of like the next piece and such. But anyway, so I think this is going to work out pretty good as far as that overlap on the leading edge. We'll see, but this will put that that seam again when the bottom comes up and around, and then it ends here, and then we put the 4-inch tape over that, and again that can catch the tapes that I have coming over the ribs. So in addition to not feeling the best, I'm not thinking the best. However, I am thinking good enough to be doing this work. So anyway, so hey, we're making some real progress here, and I'm happy to see that it's looking really nice. So we'll conclude with a little look at the Stars and Stripes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next, I guess next Monday. Thanks, and bye-bye.